Hi everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Lighthouse Series. I'm Kaylee Merrill, your Miss Ada County's teen, and today I'm joined with a very special guest, my dad. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Benjamin Merrill. I'm the principal of Meridian Medical Arts Charter High School in Meridian, Idaho.
It only felt right for the first guest to be my dad because I realized I never actually have shared my story on my Instagram or why I'm so passionate about advocating for divorce. And so I figured today would be the perfect day to share that with my dad because we went through it together. So I kind of wanted to organize this in between before, after, or before, during, and after, just so we have some structure. Divorce is such a taboo topic, and that's one of the reasons why I have started this podcast, was to break the stereotypes. Divorce, when you were a kid, was divorce ever like this taboo topic? Like you didn't really talk about it. It was just like you push it under the rug. And
Yeah, so when I was younger, I grew up in a community and there was a lot of people around us that were part of a religion that really they didn't get divorced. There wasn't a lot of divorce when I was a kid. Although my parents, my dad was married once before, and my mom was married twice, and so I came from a family. I have a half brother and two half sisters, but then they got married and had me. And so then they stayed married for my whole life.
yeah, I also sometimes I forget that I've been experienced two divorces. I kind of forget about the other one, but just kind of like a background for anyone who doesn't know. I think I was 5
Yep, you were 5
when,
years old.
yeah,
Mhm.
and my brother he would have been 3 or 2 or
Yeah,
3.
yeah, he was probably, I think he had just turned 3.
Yeah, so before you got divorced, walk me through just leading up to it before like you told my brother and I, what was kind of like the steps to that?
Well, it's different when you have children
Mhm.
that are little kids
Yeah.
when you get divorced. It's much different than if your kids were 14, 15 years
Yeah.
old. And I wondered, is it easier to have young kids and get divorced, or would it be easier to have kids that were in their teenage
Yeah.
years or maybe even older? There's not an easier time,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's difficult. It's different for every age of kid. So like you guys were so young, it was probably hard for you because you didn't
Yeah.
understand, why, your mom and I
Mhm.
were married and living together,
Yeah.
and then we weren't. And so it's different. I don't think it's easier for any age group. I really think it comes down to how the parents handle it.
Mhm.
How the parents deal with it has the direct impact on how the impact it has on the kids.
Yeah, I was so young. I don't necessarily remember like the full story or the smaller details, but I do remember some of the bigger things that happened. It kind of leads me to my next question during the divorce. After you got divorced, mom moved out, and then mom moved to Idaho. So walk us through that after you told us, like what unraveled after that.
Yeah, so we lived in Oregon. We lived in Baker City when we got divorced, and then when your mom moved out, she moved into another house in Baker, and so then I would have you for a week, and your mom would have you for a week, and then your mom really wanted to move back to Idaho, and I had a really good job in Oregon at that time, and I had a choice to make. Right, you guys were going to move back here to Idaho, and so that's when I decided that I would just kind of follow you and kind of
Mhm.
come to Idaho as well. And so I looked for a job and found a really, really good job here. And so we were able to maintain our family structure, even though it was different
Yeah.
now, right? Week on, week off. Because, a lot of dads in particular, sometimes the mom will take the kids and move away, or the mom will have the kids 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Like, I never ever even thought that was going to be a potential. I never wanted to give any time up than we had when we were 50-50. So
Mhm.
for me, it made sense for me to just move back when I think we all moved back within just a few weeks of each other.
Yeah.
And so we never really had much of a fragmented period of time.
Mhm. Again, I was so young. I don't necessarily remember. So as he's talking, I'm also learning things. But How did you explain the divorce to my brother and I because we were so young, and do you wish you did it any differently?
You guys were so little. So, Kellen was, like I said, 2 or 3 years old. So communicating the divorce to him really there wasn't much of a
Yeah,
communication. I do remember your mom and I sat down and we talked to you. And again, you're 5. And
yeah,
so we just tried to explain. We didn't get into the details or explanation of
yeah.
what divorce was or meant. We just talked about how we were going to live separately.
Mhm.
And I think that that's one thing that nobody knows. There's not an instruction
Yeah.
manual as a parent. uh, I really do. That would be one thing that I think parents that are going to have a divorce or going through divorce that they could benefit from is go get counseling right away, and not just for themselves, but to help to understand, how do I tell my 5-year-old?
Mhm.
How do I tell my 15-year-old? What do I say uh, when you're about to realize this? Because I think the most important thing that parents can do is try to remember the impact that this has on their kids, right? It's a very emotional time. But I think the one thing that's the most important is just trying to have communication.
Mhm.
If you can communicate effectively during that, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
There's no easy way to say it.
You brought up communication, and I think that's so important. That's one of the reasons why I've started this podcast, was to spark
Yeah.
the conversation and communication between parents and family members about divorce, because communication really can be the make or break difference in a healthy situation or a healthy separation versus a very toxic one. After the divorce, what has co-parenting taught you about communication?
I think the big thing that it has taught me, co-parenting and remaining active in your life. Like, your mom has you 50%, I have you 50%.
Mhm.
We split costs 50%. We just tried to maintain, even though we weren't going to remain married, we still are forever bonded as
Yeah.
parents. And so I think what co-parenting taught me more than anything is really to put the focus on you two and not put the focus on any of my feelings towards your mom
Mhm.
or her feelings towards me. And I think that was super helpful for me to try to recognize that this, decision that we made to divorce really shouldn't have an adverse impact on you forever,
Yeah.
right? So we tried to do, and I think honestly, although no divorce is perfect,
Mhm.
us remaining committed 50%, you having time 50% with your mom and 50% of the time with me, I think was ideal to try to remain as healthy of relationship as we have today.
Yeah.
I think I can't imagine what it would have been like if I would have had you one weekend a month. And I know
Mhm.
that's the story some people that are watching this that have went through divorce as a kid may have had. They see their dad once a month on a weekend, or maybe they see their mom once a month on a weekend. It really depends. But I just can't imagine what that would have been like
Yeah.
to not see my kids that rarely.
Mhm. Well, divorce is so common nowadays. It's estimated like 50% of divorces in the United States, or 50% of marriages in the United States, will end up in a divorce, which directly relates to the children too. 50% of children will experience at least one divorce before they're 18 years old. And I think that that's so important because, divorce used to be this taboo topic, and it still is in some ways, but it shouldn't be, because there are so many people who are divorced, and children that are children of divorce. And so breaking that stereotype.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy when you told me that your topic this year was going to be on
Yeah.
divorce. Initially I was nervous that we did our best. I know your mom did, and I know I have tried to do my very best to make it have as little of a negative impact on your life as
Mhm.
possible. But I know that some parents are not able to do that, right? And the parents kind of remain hostile towards one another, and it impacts kids from the day of the divorce until they finally get to move out.
Yeah.
13 years of your life you will have grown up uh, with a
Separated. Yeah.
separated family, right? And uh, and so I think it was really, really important. Your topic this year is so important, and it's so broad because
Mhm.
there's so many. As a school
Yeah.
principal, right? You go to Meridian Medical Arts. There are the majority of our students are coming
Yeah.
from divorced families, but we don't talk about it a lot.
Hmm.
And I still think there is a taboo. It's something that people don't generally open up and
Yeah.
share. That's why I think that this is a really, really powerful opportunity for you to share your experience and talk about, no matter what your experience is like, you can still make it through if you have good communication with your parents and share with them, how this is impacting
Yeah.
you. I think that was the most important thing, is understanding and remembering the impact it has on you. That helps the parent let go of some of that animosity towards the spouse or the
Hmm.
ex-spouse.
It's kind of funny because at school, like, he's my principal, and so our last names are alike, and so a lot of people find out. And when they find out that I have divorced parents, they're like, "What? I didn't even know this." And that just shows like how little we talk about it.
Yeah.
And it really should be ever present in our lives and in our communications, because so many people have it. And I'll go around having conversations with other kids in my school, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like my parents are divorced." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Mine are too." And it's such a good conversation starter and bonding for other people and classmates at my school, which I think is just another reason why we should be talking
Mhm.
about divorce more. What's one thing you wish children of divorce knew about divorce?
That's the great question, Kaylee. I think the one thing that I children should understand, and it might take time for them to
Mm-hmm.
understand it, is in some ways people view divorce as such a negative thing and they're afraid to talk about it. And in reality, it can be one of the most healing things a person does.
Yeah.
Not every marriage is super healthy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think part of this conversation that you're having now, you're choosing this topic, really allows people to say, although divorce is yucky and it can feel really heavy, and the outcome of a divorce sometimes can actually be more positive. It can be healthy. It allows a person to heal, because people that are married, they grow, they may grow apart.
Yeah.
And yet, as I remember thinking to myself, when I was still married, uh, would I rather stay in an unhappy relationship or unhealthy relationship, or would it be better to make this decision, get divorced, and obviously, the potential impact on my children. But in the end, for me, it allowed me to have a healthier the remainder of my life, and
Yeah.
hopefully, at raising two children. Obviously, I'm remarried. Nanette
Yeah.
is your stepmom. Uh, Hopefully we have modeled our the happiness we are able to have together now. So I think that's the one thing, to answer your question, is that divorce can end up becoming a
Yeah.
healthy thing for people to do. It's not always a negative decision.
I was going to touch on that topic too. Like, you are married in a very happy relationship. And so divorce can end up in a very positive
Mm-hmm.
way. Similar, my mom got remarried after you got divorced. And that also ended up in a divorce. But now she has a healthy boyfriend and they live together too. So both of my parents have found happiness, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy for them too. Is I get asked is, what do you wish parents understood about divorce? And that's the one thing I wish is, like, I want you guys to be happy, and so if that means getting a divorce, if that means getting remarried, like, that's what I want. And ultimately it'll make everyone happy in every situation.
Yeah, and one thing I would add is, I think too, uh, I'm happy for your mom. I really like Steve. I really think he's a good person, and it's important for me to feel, because he spends half of
Yeah.
your life with you, and so I like him. I think he's a good person to be around you guys. So I'm happy for your mom, and I hope she's happy
Yeah.
for Nanette and I.
Hmm. The last question is, what advice would you give to a parent currently going through a divorce with children involved?
The number one advice I'd give them is this: get counseling immediately. Get
Hmm.
counseling to understand your own emotions, and to have someone else help you process that frustration, so that it's not processed in front of your kids.
Yeah.
And I think getting counseling is the healthiest thing any of us, everybody could benefit from counseling.
Hmm.
And I think if no matter whatever condition you're in, even if you don't need it for a long period of time, get some counseling because I think the counselor will help you process and recognize that the decisions and actions and words you say as you're angry and frustrated going through the divorce has a direct impact on your kids.
Mhm.
And so you need someone else to tell you that. And I think they help you, your counselor helps you work through those things that you're going through so it doesn't come out um, impacting your children.
Mhm.
I can't imagine going through a divorce without having someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Right? Going through a divorce, you feel pretty alone,
Mhm.
and that's the thing. I think it's critical. Parents that are going through divorce get counseling.
I remember I got counseling too
Yep.
after my brother and I. It was like a interactive.
Yeah.
We like played games and like made
Mhm.
crafts while
Every
we
week.
talked. Yeah, while we
Yeah.
talked to her, and I remember that was really helpful. But one of the reasons why I started Anchored Families, my CSI for this year, competing for Miss Idaho's team, was because as I got older, there's little resources for
Yeah.
teens in children of divorce, and so that's ultimately why I have my resource website, and I'm coming out with podcasts like these so that teens are, and ultimately children of all ages.
I agree.
Well, it was nice having you on. Thank you for talking today, and stay tuned for the next upcoming episodes.